And since Mary is the daughter of God and Jesus is the Son of God, Mary would have to be his sister. On page 42 in the book entitled The Light of Reason, Volume 2, anti-Trinitarian Shmuel Golding highlighted some of these difficulties rather well by stating, quote, "To those who believe in a Trinity, the question must be asked, is the Trinity three persons in one Godhead? Is the Trinity three persons all carrying office at the same time? If one believes that the three persons of the Trinity are all in office at the same time, that is, God the Father is in heaven while God the Son is on earth, then this would border on polytheism, that is, belief in several gods. And if the Trinitarian believes that the Trinity is three in one, thus being indivisible, that is, always together in one Godhead, then surely there must have been a God the Father in heaven when God the Son was crucified and buried in a tomb. Otherwise, who resurrected him after 3 days? And if God came to earth and died, then during the 3 days that he was dead, who ruled the heavens and the earth? Also, if the Trinity is indivisible, then Jesus, being also the Holy Ghost, must have had intercourse with his own mother in order to produce himself as the Son. And if not, then it's clear that Father, Son, and Holy Ghost are three separate persons. Thus, the Trinity could not be a unity in one Godhead, unquote. E. There is no verse anywhere in the entire Bible that specifically mentions the Trinity or uses the word Trinity, and most biblicist are willing to admit as much. On page 22 in the book entitled What You Should Know About Inerrancy, the apologist Ryrie states, quote, "It is fair to say that the Bible does not clearly teach the doctrine of the Trinity. If by clearly one means there are proof texts for the doctrine. In fact, there is not even one proof text. If by proof text we mean a verse or passage that clearly states that there is one God who exists in three persons," unquote. And F, many biblicists are willing to concede that the very concept is beyond rational comprehension, and don't even make an attempt to put the idea within a framework which people can understand. They not only admit there are no proof texts for the doctrine, but freely admit that the entire concept is incomprehensible. Support for this assertion is not hard to find. On page 168 in the book entitled 508 Answers to Bible Questions, fundamentalist DeHaan states, quote, "The Trinity, that is three persons in one, is a mystery which is revealed in the Bible but cannot be understood by the human mind. Since man is finite and God is infinite, this is one of those things that must be accepted by faith, even though it cannot be reasoned out. The Trinity cannot be explained, but it must be believed because the Bible teaches it throughout," unquote. On page 55 of the book entitled Basic Theology, the Dallas Theological Seminary professor Charles Ryrie states, quote, "Even with all the discussion and delineation that we attempt in relation to the Trinity, we must acknowledge that it is, in the final analysis, a mystery. We accept all the data as truth, even though they go beyond our understanding," unquote. On page 25 in the book entitled Essential Christianity, apologist Walter Martin says, quote, "No man can fully explain the Trinity, though in every age scholars have propounded theories and advanced hypotheses to explore this mysterious biblical teaching. But despite the worthy efforts of these scholars, the Trinity is still largely incomprehensible to the mind of man. Perhaps the chief reason for this is that the Trinity is illogical or beyond logic. It therefore cannot be made subject to the human mind or to human reason or logic, unquote. Martin neglects to mention the fact that no one can fully explain the concept because there's nothing to explain. How do you describe an all-black-white horse or a square circle? How does one rationally explain how 1 plus 1 equals 3? Something is either logical or illogical. How can something be illogical, whatever that means? This is the kind of word one would expect to emerge from the apologetic mindset of defend at all cost. How do you step beyond logic? The answer is you don't. Certainly the Trinity is incomprehensible, and so is a square circle or a two-sided triangle. On pages 10 and 11 of the book entitled Answering Christianity's Most Puzzling Questions, Volume 2, apologist Richard Sisson says, quote, "The doctrine of the triune Godhead may upset the neat, logical order of your mind, but it is taught in the Scriptures. We are not to adjust the Bible to satisfy our sense of logic. We are to adjust our sense of logic to conform to the Scriptures," unquote. A comment of that nature is almost too absurd to warrant a response. One can only imagine the number of people with half-baked, crackpot, superstitious, screwball beliefs with absolutely no intelligence attached to whatever saying, "Right on, brother. That expresses our sentiments toward our ideas exactly. If logic, reason, and rationality are not going to be our standard,